Clint from the Farmer's Grove. I have a podcast that we're just starting up, and it's a permaculture garden and income podcast. It's still in diaper phase, to be honest with you. So it's one of the things that I definitely want to, everybody should bring in what they think is important, and permaculture is extremely important to me. And the marketing side and the business side and some of the computer and SEO side of stuff. That's really strong in what I do now. So I want to try to find a way to bring that into permaculture, so people that want to start a business inside of an alternative agriculture, whether it be organic, beyond organic, natural farming, regenerative agriculture, all that type stuff, maybe something I do will kind of help them out along the way. And one of the notes that I've been doing on one of the podcasts is, why do permaculture businesses fail? Or why, you could change that out to why do sustainable agriculture businesses fail a lot of times? Organic farms, farm businesses, stuff like that. Why do they fail? And as I'm going down through these notes, and I'm sure there will be a podcast on this at one time, all in one form, I just thought it would be kind of maybe a helpful thing to some people if we break these down in these little videos and go over these individual topics. I think the biggest reason that most alternative type garden businesses fail, or farm businesses, whatever you want to call them, is you have to plug in whatever it is that you're thinking about doing there, is it's choice. It's really choice. When you break it down, it's choices that we make in our past before we got into permaculture. It's choices we make today, and it's choices that we make tomorrow. And most people choose these choices, whether it is consciously or unconsciously, and they do it with a lot of times emotion, and they're not thinking just about business. And I'm definitely not one of the guys that think business is all about the money. I think money is just a form of accounting to show you that your business is working. So it's not just about trying to get all the money you can get, but you need to really think about the choices that you make. And we're going to go through a ton of these on different videos. Most people choose to be very ignorant in business. They make that choice. They can change that whenever they want to. They have confusions about a true free market, and there's a lot of guilt involved because of beliefs they have that's based off emotion, and then they try to mix a business with that, and it's just, you're asking for trouble. They don't know what their why is, which is what I want to talk about today, which you have got to know if you're going to get into something like this. They focus on their wants and passions and not the business part of it, and it falls apart really quick. They don't choose, I use this word a lot, choose, because it's what it is. They don't choose a niche. They think they are, until you really break down what a niche is. Growing food for the community is not a niche, unless you're the only person that's done that or has ever thought about doing that in your community. If you break it down to a niche, you could break it down, not just growing food for the community. You could break that down to being more sustainable or being more regenerative, using perennials, going into a tree-based system. It could be breaking that down all the way to the point where you're making, per se, a kit where someone can buy pawpaw pulp with a ingredient base in there that they could go make ice cream at home, or sorbet or something like that. You're getting down to a niche part. The reason the niche thing is so important is, starting off for most small businesses, especially that are cottage industries, is they simply don't have the capital to go up against commodity style stuff, or they don't think about a niche and figure out what their why is, so they know what their niche should really be and what the customers are really wanting, that they make decisions based off what other people are doing. And when they follow other people, they automatically lose the biggest unfair advantage in the monopoly that they have in their small business, which is their self. Why they're doing it, the story of why they're doing it. And when you start copying, the best you can ever get to be a copycat, and no one really appreciates a copycat in the end. So that's one of the things that you don't want to do. But you got to focus a lot of times on the right things and not just doing something or what you think's cool at the time. A lot of niche style business, especially whether it be in permaculture or organic, or having a local, finding a church that would let you put in a food forest, or to go and talk to the county and get in community gardens and stuff like that. We're going to go back to that why again in a minute, but you got to know why you want to do that, because if you don't know the why, I promise you it's going to fail. They choose not to learn marketing because they have a bad connotation about marketing. And a business or a product without marketing is absolutely nothing. It doesn't matter how good the product is. It doesn't matter how good you are as a skilled technician to get it there, unless you've got the marketing to back that up. No one will know, so no one will care, so no one will buy, so you'll be out of business. And it's just a straight fact like that there's no way to get around it. But people have a hard time with the idea of business and money, and then people get on their comments and they're talking about them exploiting people because of labor and selling, and it should all be free. Then you have the other side coming in, well, it should be fair share and all this type stuff. And the reality of the world that we live in now is not the utopia that people want it to be. So you have to live where we're at now, not where we're hopefully going to be somewhere down the road. They choose not to market, not just marketing, but marketing their products in a way that people find they're receptive to, and different things like that. Find a way that it's more appealing to the customer, because there's always a backlash with the alternative agriculture where it shouldn't be that way. Well, it doesn't matter if it should or shouldn't. If you want to be in business, it is that way. If you've got, bad looking tomatoes or apples, you're going to have a more hard time selling them. Now, should it be different? I don't know. Now, you could market that to a niche, to having fruits and vegetables that may be on discount, that, have a big social capital side to it, where, instead of being wasteful, and, you could use that as an outreach type program. You can find niches just like that inside any agricultural business. But you have to really understand the market part of it and the marketing part of that. Just before we get to the main thing of this, just going down through here, just to try to get your brain primed a little bit about some of the stuff we're going to be talking about. The biggest excuses that people have on agriculture is usually three things, and it all comes down to resources. They don't have the money, they don't have the time, and they don't have the education. Well, the cool thing about being a healthy person, if you are in America, which I'm assuming most people watching this are, is you can go out and come up with different ways to generate money to get the farm going, and it doesn't have to necessarily do itself. So the money part, for the most part, is it's a self smoke screen of an excuse why you can't do something. If you want the money bad enough, you can do it. The same thing with the resources. If you're living somewhere like California, where I live in Tennessee, it's rapidly different of the cost of things. When I watch some of the shows about California, and the average medium household, the cost of that to buy a house is $500,000, where I can buy 1,800 square foot with an acre of ground here with a well and a shop and really good soil for $80,000. Well, you're choosing to live in a place that you're going to have a hard time just to justify the living expenses, because you're choosing to be in a place that is so expensive. It's a choice. The other thing is time. If you want to have time for something, unless you're really working 3 jobs and you're not wasting time in between, and you're not watching TV, and you're not going out and doing things, if you really want to do something, you can come up with a time. It's not nice when someone tells you that, but most people waste most of their time, even when they're doing something that should be productive, and it's not. And the other part is education. You notice I didn't say schooling. Education, schooling are very different. School is what you get a piece of paper for, and it's such a good piece of paper. Ask the few million college graduates that are working at McDonald's and Walmart and living with their parents right now. I'm not talking about schooling. I'm talking about education. Education is self-education, the way Benjamin Franklin did it, where you taught yourself. You learn about marketing, you learn about SEO, you learn about the techniques of permaculture, and you'll soon find out in business that the actual techniques of permaculture is not near as important as understanding how the business works for a permaculture business. for the simple fact that if you can't get customers and sell it and get distribution and get market share, you can have the best tomatoes in the world, and just you and your neighbor and your wife and your grandparents will care about it. So, you know, it's not that. You can learn through going to stuff like Permaculture Voices out in California, which is actually really cheap for what you get. You can listen to podcasts. You can go online. You can take PDCs online. You can do all kind of things like that if you really wanted to. And if you say I don't have the money, and you have a cell phone and you're paying a couple $100s a month, you really have the money. You're just choosing not to put it where you should be putting your money if this is really something you want to do. And the last thing I want to get, which would be, there's some more points here, I'm not going to go over all of them, is looking for a step-by-step plan on how to run a business, what to put in the ground, the techniques to use, where to get the ground, how to market it, and all this. And there's no such thing. There really isn't. It would be nice, trust me, from someone that would like to help people get stronger in this area, if I could come up with a plan that I could just hand somebody on a sheet of paper and they do, points A through F, and they do those in order, and the business will be productive, and the money will come in and it'll be sustaining, and they have a very good life and all that. But it's not, because of the why. And everybody's why is different. So that's why the plan will never work. You have different climates, you have different needs of the customers in your area. Like where I'm at, for a year and a half, one of the things I'm going to be growing in my own nursery is a lot of seaberry seedlings. Do you know, in where I live in Tennessee, I have yet to meet another human being that I've talked to in a year and a half that even knows what a seaberry is. So if I was just going to open up a seaberry farm, I'd be in kind of rough shape on that. And that would be the education. I don't want to force that on anybody. So the why, that's why the why is so important. And that's a question I want to ask you today that only you can come up with. There's no way to Google this. There's no way to ask somebody at a PDC what your why is. It's just you and the person that looks back at you in the mirror when it comes to this. Why do you want to have an agricultural business? What turns you on about having alternative agriculture, whether it be permaculture or a backyard garden or backyard nursery or whatever it is? What about that do you really like, and why do you like it? And then what do you not like? That's just as important as asking the why, because without the why, you don't have anywhere to go forward. And you have some people that are just amazing at what they do. You have, a name that everybody's knowing, right now is Curtis Stone. He is rocking it in Canada. That's one of his, that seems to be his style. He likes to have everything written down and with analytics, and it's ran just like any other type of business, and it's fast paced when it is going on, and it's slow paced when it's not going on, and that fits his personality. Well, if that's not your personality and it's not the same why as the reason that he has, and you just copy his system, you'll find out that it may not work very well for you. You may be better off more on the educational side, or more on the backyard nursery side, or on the animal side with chickens and ducks, where that wouldn't fit in his system. That's why there's no way that someone can give anybody a plan about the best way to run their own business. And the only way that you're going to be able to get going in the right direction is to be totally honest with yourself of why you want to do it. Is it because you're just trying to generate income and not have a job? Is it more of a social type thing that you want to do? Is it a community building process that you want to have? Is it more of a social justice thing? Is it, to give the middle finger to Monsanto's? What is it? I mean, and then only then can you start going down the process and make the right choices that you need to make, and you can start choosing from that point. Because until you know the why, and really know the why of what it is that you want to do, you're kind of spinning your wheels, and there's going to be a lot of frustration, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that's not meshing together, because you're going to want to spend your time on things that's not in the business plan that you come up with, because most of the time it's from being a content chaser or watching what other people are doing, and it's not for you. Like I said, when you don't do your own why, from a personal point of view, from a happiness point of view, from a lifestyle point of view, and from a marketing point of view, which marketing is probably the most important thing in any business. If you don't know the why, you can't have the story, and if you can't have the story, there's not going to be anybody that really cares about it except your mother and a few friends. The why is what makes you special and unique, and it's an unfair advantage and monopoly that no matter how much money someone else puts out there, they can never compete with you on your why. But this is a place where you're going to have to do some critical thinking and actually rationalize why it is that you want to get in this business. And without knowing your why, you're probably going to have a rough time. And that was the first thing that I want to talk about in all these list of questions. Why does a business fail? And this isn't, I don't want you to take what we're doing as a negative by any stretch of by any stretch. This is just, you have to know why and why other businesses fail, because it's everybody in permaculture and in restoration agriculture and in urban farming, they think what they're doing is special. They think that it's unique. They think that it's different. They think that it's got special type of marketing that it has to do. And other businesses, it's so much easier if I had another time. It's not. When you have a business, no matter what type of agriculture you're getting into or what aspect of permaculture you're getting into, there's the same principles of any other business apply, and that's free market capitalism. That means you provide value, and if you're going to be very good at your business, value with added emotion at the same time, so people care about what you're doing and they know that you care about them, and you build this relationship, and then y'all two exchange value, which most of the time is going to be a product or service that you provide. And money is the value that they bring to the table, and everybody's a winner. There's no losers in free market capitalism. That's why it's so powerful. Don't get this confused if you've never heard me say anything before about what goes on with big business and governments and the fascism and all that type of stuff. I'm talking about what me and you can do from a yard or a small farm is going to be the truest form of free market capitalism in the world. And if you do it right and you know your why and you take advantage of that monopoly that only you have on your why, and you emotionally connect through marketing with customers, and you're doing the right thing and you follow the ethics of permaculture, you'll have a rocking business. But you got to come to that why. So my question to you is, why would you want to do an agricultural business to begin with? Why do you really want to do it?